Hey guys, this is Dhruv. So, Apple had a pretty big event in its swanky new spaceship campus in Cupertino, California this week. This was, in fact, the first ever event held at the theater in Apple's campus, named after its co founder and probably the most well known person in the world of contemporary technology, Steve Jobs. Now, while there were updates to the Apple Watch, the Apple TV, and Apple even released its new iPhone, the iPhone 8, it was really that
One more thing.
for which tech journalists flew in to California from across the world and why people like me were awake past midnight. Yes, that one more thing is the iPhone 10. Not the X like earlier rumors were suggesting. You know what? Let's talk about those rumors for a second. This was probably the first iPhone that we know so much about since an Apple employee left his then unreleased iPhone 4 in a bar in 2010. I mean, mock-ups of the iPhone 10 were on every tech YouTuber's desk, which is why, if you follow technology, you would have had a fair idea what to expect from Apple's announcement. And yeah, that sort of took away the excitement of the whole unveiling, at least for me. But what it doesn't take away is that the iPhone 10 is a pretty brilliant phone and a great upgrade from the iPhone 7 Plus. The easiest way to understand the improvements is to really understand what direction Apple is taking with this phone. It basically wants to build the phone of the future. Now, really, that's what most smartphone makers are aspiring to do these days. Most of the features included by Apple aren't really groundbreaking and have been seen in flagship Android phones earlier this year. But out here, it's Apple's promise of the way these features are being integrated with their ecosystem and the way they just work that at least seems to be pretty impressive. Now, I should state out here, I've never personally owned an iPhone and I prefer the user experience that Android offers me on my phone. But even so, the iPhone did leave me impressed. Here are 4 things that stayed with me even after the launch. Number 1, that screen. Apple has, for the first time, used OLED technology, which Samsung has been using in its phones for a while now. This basically means that the iPhone will have significantly deeper, richer colors, higher contrast, and inkier blacks than before. The screen on the iPhone 10 is also longer, and it's twice as tall as it's wide, which basically makes the phone just a tad bit wider and longer than the smaller iPhone, but it fits in a screen that's even bigger than the iPhone 7 Plus, coming in at 5.8 inches. And from the hands-on videos, the screen looks absolutely stunning. The sense of immersion that the edge-to-edge display provides makes the just released iPhone 8 look obsolete. In fact, the front of the phone is almost entirely screen, about 83% in fact. The remaining 17% is the narrow borders around the phone and that cutout on top, which has a lot of stuff crammed in there. That brings me to number 2. The cameras and sensors in this cutout work together to project and analyze more than 30,000 invisible dots to create a precise depth map of your face. Why does it do this? Well, aside from being able to mirror your expressions in 12 animated emojis, it can also unlock your phone. Apple calls it Face ID. This replaces a Touch ID fingerprint sensor. Yeah, and with an all-screen front, there's no place for a home button here. And this sort of fits in with the future phone thing. Apple visualizes a future, an effortless future, where your phone recognizes and unlocks the moment you glance at it. A face unlock is a tricky thing. Most phones that do it today get tricked with a picture of the person. Apple's promising that won't happen on Face ID. If they manage to do that, according to me, that'd be one of the biggest advancements on the iPhone. And they've got to pull it off, since as I said, there's no Touch ID, since there's no home button anymore. So really, the way you interact with the iPhone changes dramatically. That's number 3. If you're really into tech, this one will be familiar. So now, to go home, you've got to swipe up from the bottom of your display. And to get to the multitasking panel, you've got to swipe from the bottom and hold midway. The control center is accessed by a swipe down from the top right of the screen. I like the idea of this new method of interaction since we are already used to swiping and scrolling on our phones these days. These gestures seem natural to me at least. Again, this is another step in Apple's vision of the future of how we will interact with our mobile devices. This brings me to number 4. Now, A part of this vision that Apple envisions is wireless. They started this last year by removing the headphone jack and bringing the wireless AirPods. Now, the first of that, most people weren't a fan, including me. This time, they're taking the wireless concept forward by incorporating Qi, a widely accepted form of wireless charging. They've also brought their own version of a wireless charger called the AirPower. The AirPower can charge your phone, Apple Watch, and AirPods at the same time. Wireless charging isn't something new. Samsung has been doing it for years now, and in fact, with their new range of Samsung phones, they have fast wireless charging. But either ways, with Apple coming into the game as well, hopefully more accessory makers and phone manufacturers should give a push towards this feature. So that's been my initial take on the iPhone 10. The rumored price for the 64GB variant is 89,000. Now, while that does seem absurd, and the internet is going to be flooded with memes of people having to sell their kidneys to be able to buy an iPhone 10, the fact is most people would never shell out that kind of money on a phone, including me. That being said, your phone is the device you use the most during the day. And with the huge strides that Apple has made with this iPhone 10, and considering the demand and the attention Apple commands, at least for their iPhone, I don't see people not lining up to buy this phone. Anyway, that's been my thoughts on the iPhone 10. If you're interested in a more detailed rundown, here's the card to Marquez's video. You should check it out. Feel free to share your comments down below, and thanks for watching. See you soon.